Welcome back. Back in July of 2020, we were celebrating 25 years of Willy's Mexicana Grill with the restaurant chain's founder, Willy Bitter. Now, just over a year later, the Metro Atlanta business owner is adding a little more heat to the local food scene.
Yeah, the Howlin Willy's Hot Chicken is Willy's latest restaurant concept, serving up Nashville-style hot chicken on a scale of not hot to howlin'.
That's hot. Good Day Atlanta's Paul Milliken is live there this morning. And Paul, we're expecting you to try each and every heat level. So you're going to be howling.
We are so prepared.
In no time.
We are prepared. They brought me a rag to mop my brow because I'm already sweating from the first 3 levels. We've got ice cream, we've got margaritas, anything we can get. We've got apple pies just to cool us down as much as possible, because this is it. Behold, this is the hottest you can get at Howlin Willy's Hot Chicken, which is open now right on the edge of Piedmont Park. I don't know whether to thank you or to blame you for this, because I don't know what's about to happen. But first of all, Willy, are you ready? You and I are going to do an interview while we are eating the Howlin Hot Chicken.
I don't know. I'm pretty stressed. My watch is asking me why I'm so stressed right now.
I love that she can sense it through the television. All right, well, let's each take a piece. This is it right here. Now, explain to me as we start to eat it what makes this so hot.
This is the world famous ghost pepper, which on the Scoville units, I don't even know what number it is, but it's way at the top.
Okay.
It's huge. So.
All right. Well, cheers, my friend, to Howlin Willy's Hot Chicken, and we're gonna talk while we eat, maybe, but we'll probably won't be able to talk. All right. Okay. Go into a big bite.
Waiting for it to hit.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. There it is.
That's
I think I noticed it. Some sweat beads coming
that's
off of his
immediate.
forehead.
Okay, that is. It does have flavor. The flavor's called hot. That's immediate.
Wow.
And we still got like 3 minutes to go in this segment, Willy.
Just
What
swallow
is
the
wrong with
margarita,
us?
you'll be
Okay.
good.
We're going to attempt to do this real quick. Want to mention to folks, they need to follow your Instagram,
Right.
because there's a heat challenge coming up in October, right?
Right. Go to our Instagram page, and we'll have directions where you can show how well you can handle Howlin Willy's hottest heat.
You're not handling it very well, Willy.
Well, I have to admit, I have to make a confession. I usually eat the Willy hot. I don't often eat the Howlin hot, and it's catching up with me.
Okay, Joanne and Sharon, do either of you want to switch places with me right now? Because if you want to, we're not that far from the
we're
Fox 5
enjoying the ice
studios,
cream.
and you
I
are
love
more
it.
than
I
welcome
love your
to
take.
come on down and let me come back to the studio where maybe there's some milk, because I don't even know if ice cream's going to be enough. And we got to keep eating. Okay, real quick, let's let people know, though. So you are located in the same space as the Willy's. Hold on. Wait. Let me have a moment. Okay. You're located in the same space as the Willy's Mexicana Grill right here at Piedmont Park. You've taken over sort of the backside so folks can walk right in and get there.
Right. If you want, if one of your friends wants to eat Willy's and you want to eat Howlin Willy's, you've come to the right place. And we're right on the edge of the park. So if you're down at the park all day, just come over to Willy's and you can get a margarita too.
I want to say real quick, I've eaten a lot more of this than you have. You are leaving. I don't want to leave you behind. This is.
I'm impressed.
The
Paul.
eyes are watering. I 1000% can feel the moistness along my hairline.
We can see
This
it. It's
is
glistening.
maybe the least comfortable I've ever been on live television, and I've done some crazy things on live television, but my tongue is on fire. Are we allowed to do the ice cream?
We have to do maybe the tongue twister first.
That's right. Okay, we agreed, and I put this on Twitter, that we were going to try to say a tongue twister together. My tongue isn't, it hurts, people. This is, okay.
Feel your tongue.
Woo! All right, let's just get this over with, Willy. Okay, we're going to say, I handled Howlin Willy's hottest Howlin heat 3 times. You ready?
Right. Okay.
3, 2, 1. I handled Howlin Willy's hottest Howlin heat. I handled Howlin Willy's
hottest Howlin heat.
I handled Howlin Willy's hottest Howlin heat. Oh, my mouth is on fire, people. This is insane. My mouth is on fire right now. I feel like I have never been this sweaty. I feel like I just ran a marathon.
You need to soothe your
I feel
tongue.
it on all parts of my body. This is not just a mouth thing anymore. This is a full body experience happening.
You're
How
gonna
are
start
you doing?
melting.
I'm doing great. I'm glad you have to do most of the talking.
So we want to see people do this on social media. The challenge happens through October. If you follow Howlin Willy's on Instagram, all the details will be released on Friday. Sharon and Joanne, we can count on you to do this right. Do I want to take another bite?
I think it'd be kind of fun to do the whole show like this one morning, as long as I didn't have to be included in it. I'd love to watch.
Oh,
I'll just watch as well.
Keeps going back for more.
And
That was too much.
And I'll take his word for it as well.
Oh my goodness. Better him than us. Paul, thank you. Good luck.
Wow. Okay. Ice cream time.
Howlin Willy's is located at 1071 Piedmont Avenue in Midtown. That's right next to the Willy's Mexicana Grill on the edge of Piedmont Park. You in, Sharon?
No, I'm just going to watch everybody. I'll try the milder one. Thank you very much.